The first one.
That wristbands, not on our watch. This is a free wristband for the tour are available, and first come, first served. There's a limited number, although I hope that they will be reordering. They're $3 each, and there are only a few left. So I guess this corner. Where's the wristband first? This corner? And we will have more. The Baja Fresh fundraiser is still going until May 23rd. It's really easy. You just go in, order something, and say that you want, this is you're eating for the Human Rights Club, and do it automatically. I did it last week. The T-shirts are on their way, and we hope to have them here next Thursday. But the group is tabling in the quad on the 17th between 12 and 1, and hope to have the T-shirts available at that time. The last announcement, on Monday, May 16th at 7 o'clock in the multi-purpose room. That's the place where we've met. There's going to be a film called Child Soldiers, and it's about the children who have been drafted into the war in Uganda. So this is a worthwhile thing to go and see, and it's on Monday, May 16th. Okay, without further ado, I might say that this has been quite a labor of love, and that Yoga has done quite a bit to make sure that this all happens. So let's see.
Well, we're just so overjoyed that this is actually happening. It was an idea several months ago, and I just want to welcome everybody so much from Sonoma State University. A big welcome to you from the Holocaust lecture series, from the three of us, and from all the students. Thank you so much for coming. Matilde Mukantabana is a Tutsi from Rwanda, a professor of history and African American studies at the Columbus River College in Sacramento. She received her MA in history and her Master of Social Science work. And
colonial is not violent because it is part of history, but I just try to explain how it is claimed. Now, with the coming of the event of colonialism, well, traditional values were dismantled, were abolished. So, traditional monarchy was abolished. Traditional beliefs were replaced by Catholicism or Christianity. And, well, there were quite changes, many changes in the Rwandan society, and new ideas kind of came in. Now, such as, for example, the idea of majority and minority. So people didn't know what is majority, what is minority. So people, tried or began to think that the majority would rule the country, the minority. So they understand that the monarchy should be abolished. When the colonists came in, they used the Tutsis to rule, and they built schools for the Tutsis, and they left the Hutus aside, so the Hutus were frustrated because of that. So this very slowly. So up to 1959. In 1959, there was very big change because it was almost at the end of the Tutsi rule, and also people began to ask for independence. So I was 18 years of age at that time. So I remember that political parties were formed, and one of the parties who wanted independence was also supporting monarchy. So this party was considered as a very big enemy of the Belgians. The Belgians didn't like people who asked for independence. So this is why at that time, so everything was put into place to fight this party, which wanted independence and who also supported monarchy, because the monarch was still ruling at that time. So what happened is there was a very big, what they called the Tutsi Revolution. They tried to expel all the Tutsis from the country. This began in 1959. So thousands of Tutsis were killed by that time. Their houses were burned. Their animals were killed because, especially the cows were considered being their wealth. They were killed, and then many of them were expelled and went into exile in neighboring countries like Congo, like Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, and so forth. So, because of this exile, there was now a population of Rwandese living outside, what was called now the diaspora, the Tutsi diaspora living outside. So, and this diaspora will create a kind of threat to the Hutus remaining in the country. So the Hutus will consider Tutsis outside the country, meaning all the countries surrounding Rwanda as a threat to the power. So this diaspora first organized some attacks, some small attacks to the country, and which created a very unsafe situation for Tutsis still inside the country. So whenever Tutsis outside the country attack Rwanda, the Tutsis inside the country were considered as accomplices of those attacking from outside. And this will help us to understand why in 1990, when the Tutsi rebels attacked Rwanda, the Tutsis inside were targeted as enemies. Because those who said those attacking from outside will find their friends inside the country, and those friends outside the country will betray us and take the power. So, maybe this was not quite true because many of the people were very simple people, living their simple life. They didn't know even about this rebel attack or the rebel army. They were cut off from the Tutsis outside. But this is what happened, and this is how the idea of it was a political idea. It was not in the mind of the people, living the people. It was a political idea which imposed upon them by politicians. So now, this is a kind of background of the history of Rwanda. I was just help you understand how this hatred built up in the mind of the people. Now, let's come to the story now. Now, imagine now that in 1990, the Tutsi who were in Uganda launched an attack on Rwanda to take the power because they have been asking the Hutu government to come in peace and come back to the country, and the government of Rwanda said the country was too small to contain all these people coming up from outside. So the rebels said, if you don't want us to come in peace, so we are going to come fighting. So when they started fighting, all the Tutsis inside the country were targeted as enemies. So they were pointed as accomplices of the rebels. So I was at the University of Rwanda, and before that attack, I didn't fear anything. I was a teacher, like a lecturer, other lecturers, American Hutu, lecturer. I had even friends among them. But when the attack started, things changed a lot. And you could see on the faces of people a very big change. And people started not greeting us. You could pass and say hello to your colleague, you want to call you, and he didn't answer you. And you wonder, why? So, people were put in prison, about 500 all over the country, 5,000 all over the country. Some lost their lives in prison. So, and then started the anti-Tutsi propaganda in the country, in newspapers, in meetings, on the radio. There were some songs and slogans saying, for example, we must get rid of our enemy. It was sung on the radio, on the national radio. We must get rid of the roaches. We were called the roaches or cockroaches. Or we must kill those serpents, those snakes. So there were slogans like these inciting people to hate you. So we were calling many names like Imotani. Imotani was the name of the Swiss rebels from Uganda. So Tutsis inside the country were also called rebels or Imotani or Ijito, which means accomplices. So all these ideas built up in the minds of the people, and Hutus became really arrogant towards us, and they also were spreading rumors. For example, on my account, they said they had discovered in my house uniforms of the rebels. And they said they had also found weapons and ammunition in my house. And they said I had dug up pits or holes or big holes to put dead bodies of the Hutus that might be killed by the rebels. And sometimes they said that rebels came and slept in my home by night and then went away early in the morning. So they were spreading these rumors to make people realize that I am a bad man, that I have to be killed. So these rumors have been spread over the region and in other regions. So now, before the presidential aircraft crashed on April the 6th, there was this atmosphere of discomfort, of distrust between Hutus and Tutsis. Of course, Tutsis were defenseless, they had no weapons. The Hutus had the army, they had the militia, they had the presidential guard. So they were organized because they had planned the genocide. They were long ago. So the Tutsis were very defenseless and they could be just taken. But now, when the presidential plane crashed, nobody goes so far how it was shut down. So there are many versions. People might say it was shot by Daejeon, others say it was shot by the rebels, others say it was shot by the government army because the president has signed an agreement with the rebels to share the power. So there are many versions you can tell the truth. But what we know that is when the presidential plane crashed, so genocide started right away. So it crashed on the 6th and on the 7th in the morning, the killing started in the capital. And those blocks were set up in all parts, on all roads. So, nobody could escape. There was an announcement in the radio that everybody should keep or should stay in their houses and not move an inch from their houses. Some people had no food supplies, and it was quite a big problem. Even my house, we had very little food. But by that time, you could go to maybe who live and ask for some food or some food, and she must give it to you. But as days went on, so you couldn't even go back and say hello and you will reply. Now, on April the 12th, I got a very great revelation. How? So one of my fellow believers, Jehovah's Witnesses called innocent, so came to my home and said, you know, I learned from one of my colleagues, my workmates, that all Tutsis will be killed. All Tutsis will be killed regardless of their beliefs, regardless of their political opinions. So they will be killed only on the basis of being Tutsi. So this was a very big revelation for me because I couldn't believe it. Because I never took part in any political party because of my religious beliefs. Also because I hate politics. So I hate politics because when I was 18 years of age, my father was put in prison because he was a member of a political party supporting the independence and the monarchy. And so he was arrested and put in prison, and I stayed at home with my mom and 7 siblings. I was the firstborn. I was 18, and so by the time I was, when my father was not there, I was like the father looking after my sibling, after my mom. And I remember that one evening we were attacked by a mob of Hutus who knew that my father was in prison because of his political opinions. And happily, one of the mobs came ahead of the big group and warned us that they were coming to molest us, and we fled by night. So I asked my mom to carry these little ones. We fled through the forest, and we went into the valley. We stayed there for a night, and we were also rescued by another Hutu, servant of ours, and he hid us. And some days later, I helped us to come back and wait for my father. When my father came back from prison, so I asked him what happened, and he said they just released me because they couldn't find any witness to testify that I had done anything wrong. So, but when he came, so they planned to kill him and to behead him and take his head and move around the village and show his head, saying that if you support the monarchy and the independence, you will be beheaded like John, my father is called John. So again, the Hutu came and warned him that they were going to kill him. He took all his family and went and fled to the party, to the mission, to the Catholic mission. And he was hidden there, and sometimes, maybe 1 hour later, the killers came and killed other Tutsis in the village. 34 of them were killed, and many were wounded, and others fled to the Catholic mission too. And this is how the killings started, and then people would have to flee outside. So this, I tell you, this is why I hate politics. I have been hating politics since that time on. Maybe this is why also the region of global is attracted me because they are neutral. They don't take sides in those political parties. They are waiting for a nurse where people believe without prejudices of race or any party. Now, let's go and see how we could be rescued. We were rescued by people, Hutus, Jehovah's Witnesses. When the killing started in the city of Butare, so it started on the 21st of April, about 2 weeks after the killing of the president. So I was in my home with my wife and my 5 children. So in fact, we were waiting for death because we knew we couldn't escape. So we had tried to escape through the world border. It was not easy. So we were in our sitting room just waiting for death. So, and one of the Jehovah's Witnesses came around the evening and told us, you see, I've been just experiencing a terrible thing. I saw 4 Tutsis being killed and just thrown in the pitch beside the road, and I thought you were dead, so I came to your home to see if you were dead. Now, I find you alive, so please listen to me and do whatever I'm going to tell you. So he told us we should leave the house as soon as possible. So he said, I saw soldiers outside your house with machine guns, and they are watching the house, but fortunately, when they saw me coming into your house, they tried walking a bit and going away from your home. So you should now leave your home and go into the bush and hide. I'm going to tell other people in the next weekend to come and pick you up. So we just obeyed him. It was hard because just obeying someone who tells you to leave the house and you know death is waiting for you. It takes courage. But we took that courage and we went out. So, but he took 2 of my children and led him into his home, which was about 3 kilometers away from my home. And we went into the bush with my wife and the 3 other children and hid at the place where he had told us to hide. So he went to the next village and told the 3 other Jehovah's Witnesses to come and pick us from the bush. So they came by night and took us. Then, unfortunately, when they took us, we came to a roadblock, and when we came to the roadblock, so they asked me for my ID card. Because the ID card bore the mention of Tutsi. This is how it was made. So they had put your ethnic group in your ID card so that everybody could know you. Because sometimes it's not easy to tell who is Tutsi and who is Hutu, because of intermarriages. So some people would resemble their mother or would resemble their father. If a Tutsi marries women, some children will resemble the mother and will have a good face, and the others will resemble the father, and vice versa. So it is also very easy to say who is Tutsi. Those have tried to describe some features like being tall, having a long nose, or having long fingers, or having the Adam apples sticking out. They try to describe those features to help people to know who's good and who's good, but you can be mistaken. And during the genocide, some people were killed and were not Hutu. I mean, were not Tutsi because they just looked like Tutsi. We obeyed this Jehovah's Witnesses who took my 2 children, and we also were taken by the other Jehovah's Witnesses to this road door, and I was arrested there. They let my wife and my children go, but they kept me and wanted to kill me. So they brought their machete and wanted to kill me, but my friends tried to explain, and so they didn't kill me. So they let us go, and we went to spend the night at one of the Jehovah's Witnesses, was called Justice. So we just slept one night at this friend called Justice, because the following day, everybody knew that we were at his home. Then there was a very, call it miraculous event, because the next day, a group of killers called in the army were prepared to come and kill me and my family at these guys' home. Then one of the killers, whom we never knew, who is on the photograph, so you have the poster, the one in the middle, so it left the killer's group and came and told us that a group of killers were coming to annihilate the family. So it was a very great concern for us. But he said, let me help you. So he told us to go and hide in a thicket, of reeds near our friend's home. So he knew that place, because maybe he used to use this hiding place to put his own things. So he put us in that thicket of the reed, and we stayed there for 12 hours. And it was raining, and we stayed there. Now, the killers came by night to our friends and looked for us and couldn't find us. So they were told that we just slept in the house, and then we left and went away. They don't know where we are. Now the problem was now how we could come from the thickets of reeds and go back to our friends. Our friends said, you can't come back because my house is now being watched. So he asked the person, the one in the middle of the photograph, to take us to his home. And it's a person we never knew before, and he was a Hutu. And he agreed to take us to his home. But of course, we had some doubts. We thought he would betray us. But he kept us for 1 month, and he didn't betray us. And he had 3 children, between 9 and 13 years. So these 3 children, he never told anybody we were in their father's house. And I remember I did say, so we were put in the small hut, and my children had bouts of asthma because of the hard conditions, and they started coughing. And coughing would attack the people and we discover us. Now, did you know what the children of that guy did? So they just came behind the hut and pretended to cough. You see? They pretended to cough to make people believe that the cough was coming from them, not from our children. And that little guy would do things I can't even tell you. So we are living in a very small place. So we have to use our natural needs. So he had brought this small bucket, and everybody would go into the bucket in turn. And when the bucket was full, he would come and take the bucket, go and clean, you see, and take the bucket back. So we couldn't, of course, wash our body because there was no place to wash. We just wash hands and faces, and maybe sometimes we do brush our teeth. So with these conditions, we had lice, all over our hair. We had things in our clothes, and we always. So we don't say what I mean. We almost lost self-esteem, because of these things. Now imagine a small child going into the bucket and after him we go. So there's no privacy, no. So, but we just things. So we said this guy, just 1 month, and towards the month of May, he told us that his friends were fleeing from Kigali, the capital, because the battle between the rebels and the government army was fierce, and it seemed that the rebels were gaining field and were almost they were winning the war. People were fleeing from the capital towards the south of the country where we were. And he told us, you must leave my house. Because my relatives will come, we will find you and will kill you. So we had to go away from his home, and Jehovah's Witnesses decided to find another place, and we found a place at the Jehovah's Witness house. He was a single, and he had been working in a customs office. And when he was in a customs office, he had dug into his house an underground room where he hid his stuff. Of course, later on he became a witness and stopped robbing, but now imagine that this underground room now is going to serve a good purpose. So he asked him to hide us in his underground room. The challenge was now how to move from Vincent's house, the one we did in the photo, to that guy's house. And it was about 1.5 hours walk. And there were roadblocks everywhere. So, but fortunately, one day there was a very heavy rain. And the rain started to fall around 6 o'clock. And it was 9 o'clock in the evening, it was still raining. So, one of the guys on the photograph on the right side wrote me a note and said, now it is time to move from Vincent's and go to John's. The other was called John. So they brought us dark clothes. So they told us to put on our shoes. And the guy who was taking us was chest naked. Bare chested, yeah, bare chested. So we went through the night and through the rain, and we walked about 4.5 hours to get to the new place, into the underground. Okay. So we went into the underground there. We stayed there for another 1.5 months in the underground. So the conditions in this, the living conditions in this situation was not easy because so we had to eat once. We could eat once a day, and sometimes the meal would consist of just some porridge. And one day we spent 3 days without eating, just drinking some water and just eating some roasted soybeans. Why? Because people were watching. If someone has changed their habits, if they notice you have changed your habits, for example, if you needed more water than usual, if you cooked more meals than usual, they could guess you were hiding somewhere. And some people were discovered like that. And they wonder, why does this Hutu now buy, does he buy more food from the market? Why does he go and fetch more water than usual? Why does he cook more meals? And they could find out and see that he's hiding some Tutsi, and then they went and took the Tutsi and killed them. So, Tutsi were really hunted down. So I remember one instance, when we were at Vincent, there was an announcement that my dead body and the dead body of my children and my wife had not been discovered yet. So the mayor in Butare said, so everything must be stopped now, and you must look for their dead bodies. If you don't find them, you have to go from house to house and find out where they are hiding. So they came in the region where I was hiding with my family, and they made a search from house to house. So the most amazing thing is that Vincent knew that, but he didn't tell us, because we could panic. So he didn't tell us. So they started searching from one village, and they went through from house to house. But imagine, by noon, just 2 houses before they reached Vincent's house, they changed their minds, and they said, well, we've been working from morning until now, we didn't find anything. Why should we continue? Because of that, we were safe. So the following day, they decided they should resume the search. Now, our friend came by night and told us to go to another friend where the search was already finished. And we stayed there for a week, and when the search was finished in Vincent's house, we came back to Vincent's house. You see, it was very, very, very challenging. So this is how we could survive. Now, I just mentioned some people, but no people intervened. So, starting from Adolf, the one who came and helped us leave the house, and also other people who maybe didn't do much, but they kept an interest in our survival. They kept sending some food, sending some, sending some more food, sending some medicine. So, and well, now the end of the story is that when the rebels took the country, will stay there for another month or more. And the killers were still around the place, so all did want to flee to the corridor. So, who helped us to get out of the underground? Vincent, the first man who hid us for 1 month. When he knew that the rebels had taken Butare, he ran and came to the underground and told us, now Butare is under control of the rebels. And he asked me to write a letter and give it to him, and he went to the soldiers, and they sent about 20 soldiers to come and pick us from the underground, and they took us to the camp for genocide survivors, and so we were saved. So this is my story in short, because there are so many things to say, but I can't say all the details, but I just try to summarize. So I thank you very much for your attention.
Speak loudly. Matilda?
Sure.
Thanks again, the organizers of the Holocaust series. This is my third time I'm coming to Sonoma, so my voice is kind of off, but excuse me. But this school has been very good to us. I have to really thank you again, and especially when I said that because of your school I was able to get some people who were interested enough to go to Rwanda to be with me, who are going to present. So I thank you again. It is because of that experience that we were able to go together to Rwanda. I'm not going to come back to what Tarsisi has said very well. I don't know if I can give it to you now, but I have a handout on Rwanda genocide. I have a couple of handouts to help you to supplement whenever you know about the Rwanda genocide, a timeline, but also I can give you and also a brochure from my association, Friends of Rwanda Association, if you are interested. So it's very difficult to talk after Tarsis because when he talks about his experience, it hits close to home. When genocide took place, I was not in the country. I went a year after genocide. And, when I went back in 1995, the country had changed. Most of the parents were dead, the brothers and sisters were dead, and it was a new world we were really facing. And like many other people who were in our experience, there were not too many choices. When you got to Rwanda in 1995, the desperation and hopelessness had set in. There was nothing that was there. All the institutions as you know them were destroyed. We are talking about the family, that is the foundation, we are looking at the church, we are looking at the university, we are looking at everything. There was a destruction that most people, either it was to go by suicide or to swim or do something. So when I look at the theme of this lecture series, when you talk about remembrance and resistance, I'm going to talk briefly about that because I don't, I'm not going to go back to genocide. I'm going to say what we have attempted to do in the wake of genocide. In 1995, when I went to Rwanda, the first thing was to see what we can do. Most people were opening their eyes thinking maybe we might bring some kind of relief. They didn't know what to do. And we had limited means. And one of the most conspicuous legacy of genocide is children in the street. For some reason, the survivors were mostly children. Because of their size, they were able to hide. Some of them were able to be sheltered, or some of them went with the Hutus. When the movement of the Hutus running away from the country started, we saw so many children went with them. So that was what we faced. We started challenges. Many widows, people who have been infected with AIDS, so there are people now dying from AIDS that were infected in 1994. So there were many challenges that people didn't think we will be addressed. Aside from the physical destruction, I think people have said this before. It's not so much about people dying. People die every day. People can come from, they can die from calamities of every kind. But it's everything. It's a whole way of life. It's the ethos of the people. So, in today's perspective, when the country is involved in trying to do reconciliation, this is one of the key points in the country. How are people going to live together again? How are we going to bring people who have killed, who are still the majority, some who haven't been punished? You kill the 9 people, you come and live with one of the few survivors. And because there's no justice system. They are building a justice system. Rwanda was not prepared to have something like this. We didn't have judges, we didn't have even prisons. We had one prison. Meaning that when most of the time when the international community was absent during genocide, now they are coming back to talk about the violation of liberties of prisoners because there are too many in prison. So the country is faced with either releasing all the prisoners, letting them go back, or implement some kind of solutions like what they call gachacha. Gachacha is when you bring people, they accept their sins, they talk about it, and then let them go. Because we don't have any other ways to do it. They have been working on it for the last couple of years, trying to do that. So it's within this perspective that we came in. And every Rwandan who is outside who come up with any kind of initiative starting to talk about what they can do. And for us, we organized the Friends of Rwanda Association. And also, I felt that if we are going to change something, to try to go from the academia to the, to address those problems. And my contribution was to use the social work degree we had created in 1994 as a breeding ground for activism. Go out there, create organizations, do this, help the children, deal with the trauma, start organizations, whatever you can do to try to address that kind of thing. And so basically that's what I did when I was there last summer. And that's what I'm going to do again in a month when I go back to Rwanda. I'm going to talk briefly about some of the major challenges, and then I show you how at least individually we are trying, or collectively we are trying to address it. One of the things maybe you know is that the University of Rwanda, like many institutions, was pretty much is still grappling with a shortage of manpower. Because the teachers were killed by the students, and students were killed by teachers, and everyone was killing everyone. One of the things you see when you go to the University of Rwanda is a big memorial. of all the people buried on the ground. So most of the departments don't have any full-time faculty. People go to volunteer. They go on during the summer, they offer a course within 2 months, 2 weeks, whatever you can afford. You are just trying to deal with the situation. And not only that, even the few who are at the university are still dealing with their own demons. The majority, when I was in my social work, I was teaching 3 classes. The students, some of them are killers. They are killers in the class. You are talking, and there's, on one hand I have my own, I'm trying to deal with it, but at the same time you are really facing a killer. He's young, but still he's a killer. And it's a very tough thing. And he's deceiving. We tried 2 or 3 who have survived, maybe who were in the same village, who were killed by him. One experience I can give you that was the toughest was I was teaching criminal justice and social practice. Criminal justice. And we were talking about death penalty in the case of Rwanda. It was just an amazing thing because some of the students would be against death penalty because they were Hutus. Because they knew very well that if you even discuss the whole issue about death penalty, they can be the first one to go. So it's an incredible thing. Every kind of institution. You go to church, you feel the same thing, including from the priest who is the head of it. Rwanda was about 80% Catholic. Most of the priests raped women, they killed women, they killed people, including bishops who are now facing some of the trials in Europe or who were sheltered by Rome or wherever you look at. But we still have those things, meaning that, especially within the academia, it doesn't mean anything if you teach social work and people stay on the campus. We have to go out there and say, okay, even if we begin, you are Hutu. Within this context of reconciliation, what is going to be your contribution? And sometimes you can open up. There's a little tiny opening, but it's worth the opening. Maybe Julie and Becky are going to tell you their experience with the children, because my whole point was to tie in all my aspects of my life, really. This is when you talk about your academic training, you talk about your humanitarian goals, and you talk about your personal life. I tried to put it together at the same time. And one of the things was that the area we've been trying to help with the 30,000 children who are being raised by other children who are by themselves because of genocide. They live in the southern part of the country, Mayala, and it's a rural setting where most of those kids, when we came, they were living in the bushes. Now we are talking about the children who pretty much were cherished. The Rwandan society was cherishing the children. They are the center of life. And one day they wake up, they don't have anyone in the family. In many circumstances, usually you lose your parents, a neighbor will come and take care of you if you don't have any family there. Now they didn't have neighbors, they didn't have family, they didn't have anyone. So we are talking about a whole generation of people. Even if their primary needs are being met, like food, like few things you are talking out there, but they are wounded beyond anything you can even talk about. So in this level of trying to address that, we felt that it's not so much just giving food, but it's trying to give food for the soul. How do you do that? How can you bring back trust? Like, for instance, trust in your neighbor. How can you say that God goes somewhere else, comes back in Rwanda when God was not there when people were living? All those stuff that are the foundation of any given society, pretty much were broken. And in my perspective, I felt that it was to try to go in reconciliation and reconstruction. You have to start with what Rwanda is shared. That were not tainted, not tainted by genocide. And we have been involved, I have been involved in translating the folk tales. Because this is the only element I can say all the children in Rwanda, whether they were Hutu, whether they were Tutsi, whether they were Twa, we all went to bed listening to folk tales. And it didn't matter whether your father was a Hutu or Tutsi, if someone was known to tell the tales, people would come. They didn't have to knock on the door. They knew the time was there to tell those tales. They had the same heroes, they had the same taboos, they had the same concept. And so that's small things we are studying. So I'm translating the folk tales for Rwandan children and hopefully find people who can also be like those surrogate parents who can tell those tales. Because given the fact that most of the older people have died, we really don't have people who can bring that kind of connection. So for me, memory is very important. I mean, when I was in Butare, at the university in here where my parents came from, I have never ever been lonely in my life like that specific time. Because this was a time when you couldn't even stay without going to your parents back and forth. And the city is rebuilding, it looks nice and things are nice, but I find more comfort with the crossing. When you go in, you can find the spirit at least of where the people are. And I could be connected to Becky and Julie. Because maybe we could talk about other things and we were able to, I could see some fresh ideas from their eyes for people who were not, they were not affected by genocide as the people who were there, and that was an incredible thing to hear what they had to say about the country and the experience. And one thing I'm going to read you here, I don't want to take all the time so they don't present. After 11 questions, what I have been doing is to try to bring the students, create programs, and try to balance the century-old dichotomy between self-help and philanthropy. You don't want to give and the people tomorrow don't know how to deal with themselves. It's the first time in my life I go to one and find children who are waiting to get something. For us it's the worst thing. Because there's no adult who is there, and if they come and they get a loaf of bread, if they get $2, they believe life can be like that. And so you have to balance even what you give. So this is why instead of going and just handing out things, we start small programs. When we were there, they probably showed the pictures. We participated in the graduation of the children. For us, it's been helping, when they were graduating in the sewing class and some of those small initiatives we began. So thank you. And once again, I want to interest you if anyone wants to volunteer to go. They make it possible for people to go so without any undue hardship in terms of ticketing and stuff like that. But I also want to thank people who have been helpful. The money I took last time came from here. We got some fundraiser going, when I was here last time. And we had a lot of feedback. I got a lot of material from the school when I was going to teach. I teach history, but I needed to make up all to do the whole curriculum for social work, trying to maintain the integrity of the discipline, and at the same time trying to carry it to the needs of the country. So it was very, very difficult. And people like Elaine and send me the material from social work, and that was very helpful. So once again, I want to thank you, and I love your campus. You have been very good to us. Thanks. I want to tell you this is a $20. It's a Rwandan guy who is from Canada. He wrote a book on genocide by using transformation. He came to the representation at the African conference in Sacramento. And it's very well done. It's a new format of how to do it, but it's well done. It was in French, they just did it in English now. So I have about 15 copies. If anyone is interested, you can trade it again.
say a word before Julianne takes the start. We passed this goal. I certainly hope that if you want to write a check, you can write it to Forum, but as a small contribution to help the children when she goes back, to provide some things for students. It's entirely voluntary, and we do it in a generous spirit. So, thank you.
Well, I'd like to first begin saying thank you so much for allowing us to come and speak to you with the invitation. It's really nice to be back. I just graduated May 22nd last year, so this is kind of a new experience. First time we've been back here. As many as you can relate, I'm pretty sure many of you took this class, at least I did, hoping that you would gain a better understanding of the genocides or the horrible atrocities that occurred. And during this time while I was listening, or while both of us were listening to the survivors and reading all the materials and that were given during the course, we were both really overwhelmed about how this could happen and overflowed with many unanswered questions. And especially, particularly during Mathilde's lecture, something hit home more so than many of them, maybe possibly because it was just 10 years ago, or just her story, you felt so much more suffering, and it was more evident to me. And we just really wanted to help out, and again, thank you very much for allowing us to do that. It's been a lot. And I also want to excuse that we're going to combine it since we both shared our experience. We're going to hurry through this for you.
I want to start by saying that through the knowledge that probably, sorry. Through the knowledge that I have gained and probably all of you have gained, we share a responsibility to educate one another and to use everything we've gained here and teach our families and teach those that have no idea what has occurred around the world and what still does occur around the world. I wasn't quite sure what to expect when I went to Rwanda. I'd been to Kenya in the past, and I thought it might be similar and the people might be similar, but I was thoroughly surprised with the amazing people that I met, and it was very different, anything from what I had expected. Can we start this? I wanted to start with some photos to kind of give you an idea of what Rwanda is like, what the countryside looks like, and the smiles on the people's faces there, and maybe that can help paint a picture. This is Kigali, and when we arrived, we had a friend come pick us up and drive us through the capital there, Rwanda. And while we were driving, he let us know that every street, every river, every home has a story. And it hit really hard because I didn't fully understand until seeing the way people live there and him sharing experiences, saying, down the street I lost a loved one and somebody was killed here and people hid in this park, and every place has a story. Rwanda has been described as, I think it's the country of 1,000 hills, and it is beautiful. Every inch of it is terraced with crops and land and animals. It's quite beautiful. It's stunning. These are just kind of landscape photos, and this is very typical, I guess, outfit, and the mother on carrying a child, and cute little kids. They're amazing. This is what people did every single day. They're such hard workers. This is a man carrying plantains. He's probably going to make banana beer or something out of it. But hard workers, great individuals. While we were there, we stayed with 3 survivors. And when I say survivors, it's a strong word for me now, because you don't really understand what it means until you really get to know individuals and realize that they had lived through something so incredible. They had survived something. And there were so many times that we'd be sitting around laughing or painting toenails or chatting late at night while the electricity didn't work. And we would be faced with so many stories of their life and their trials. And it was just such an honor to be able to get to know these women. I'm going to let Julie explain these next couple photos. And knowing that there's a story in every single street or river, you also realize that genocide is evident everywhere. When you go in, the buildings still have explosions, so the buildings are eroded, and there's scars on people's faces still. And so when you talk to them, just everything is evident that there was a genocide that occurred. And on our way to the Rwanda Memorial Museum, on our way, just right up the hill, seriously around the bend, is caskets. And they are still, every single day, finding more and more people. And every single one of these caskets, there's 50 bodies cremated. And you have to imagine I was trying to talk to Becky, like maybe 10 tombs at just this one memorial park area. And it's just too much to even fathom. This is the Memorial Museum they just finished, and it's an incredible museum that's supposed to help educate and remind everybody to never forget what happened. And an experience that I had that's most prominent in my mind is that one of the survivors that we stayed with, and she came with us, and can you imagine going to a memorial with somebody who, this is their story? And walking through the museum, she grabbed me, we walked over to an area where you walk into a room, she has tears streaming down her face, and there is clothes that are lined up on the walls with invisible bodies, well, just hung up like somebody would be wearing them, and then bones in these glass little holder, anyway. And she would grab my hand and she made me walk around with her. Granted, there was no language, and we couldn't even speak. We could laugh a lot, we could cry, but we couldn't understand each other. But in that moment, I realized there was something so much more. And these were bones of people they found that they don't know who they are, and they're just pieces that they find all the time. So it definitely was an experience that it's just very evident and still real. And also very important for me to also understand is that in situations, there's still fear. I mean, there would be somebody cooking who is a Hutu, and their group that is still claimed as a Tutsis are whispering because they don't want the Hutus to hear us speaking in English. There's just many evident about the genocide. So there's still just fears exist, and people are still, it is evident that the pain is real and that it's something that needs to be discussed. This is a church near the Congo, and what had happened here was, this is a rebuilt church, and this church had been basically grounded. Grenades were tossed in, and it was destroyed with many members inside, and the priest, I guess, had told these members to come and they could seek safety there. And the thing is, I remember asking Matilda on our way here about this church, and they said, you know, where is this church I read about in all the books? And I was very interested to see this memorial site, and she said, which one? There are hundreds. There are hundreds of churches like this, and there's a frightening thought that, like I said before, everyone is affected. Every church. There weren't just isolated incidences. This affected everyone. This is a memorial site just outside of the church, and the inside of the church is quite beautiful. It's stunning. And this is another mass grave outside, actually, one of the forest schools. These are students, yes, great friends. These are some of Matilda's students. and I'm sure you could find us in there somewhere. But we visited a center here that Matilda kind of idolizes. She loves it because it's everything she would love for her organization. It's where children from war crimes have been orphaned, and they come to this organization and they learn vocational skills so they can survive on their own. And the children learn about computers and learn how to sew and to throw pots so they can be independent, and it's a really amazing structure of support there for them. These are the students again. The students are so great, they're so friendly, and they're really actively participating in trying to reconcile and to work with the people here and try to make a change. These are some of the children with the vocational skills learning. This is a man that worked at kind of a memorial site that we went and visited one afternoon. You can see the scar in his head. He survived and actually witnessed his family being killed, and he kind of has refused to leave this area because this is where his family was killed. And so the Memorial Museum has hired him so he can show people around this site. This site actually was one of the most hard for us because sometimes you're going to go into those, to look at these bodies that were actually able to be preserved in limestone. And in walking in, I can't even begin to describe the smell. It was so intense. At the same time, you're telling your mind to stop smelling and you want to plug your nose. In the same sense, you refuse because you want to be part of that situation. You realize this is real. And it was definitely an intense moment for us, and you can tell we were both very touched at that time, and still are. This is also some of the propaganda. Talked about the extermination. I say they don't read the language, so I can't tell you everything it says here. One thing we wanted to talk about really quickly is just the gacaca, and it was actually a big question between Becky and I. We wanted to know, how do the people within Rwanda feel about the gacaca, which I'm assuming many of you know about, which is the justice system, and it's where they're supposed to bring up the perpetrator in front of the victim's family, and the perpetrator is supposed to describe in detail what he did. Whether it's I chopped off your arm, and then I chopped off the head, and then I did this, and I dragged him. They have to tell him in all the detail. And then at the end, they're supposed to somehow come up with a compromise. And tell me if I'm getting any of this wrong, please. At the end, come up with a compromise of what would be serve justice. Now, this would be used, it was used, a long time ago when you went in and stole a cow. And so they said, wait, you took my cow, so you need to come back and give me back, what you've taken. It's like the shame, or, but I just don't see it. It was difficult for us to see how the gacaca would actually help, because it victimized the victims. Because the Hutus would go out and say, if you go tell on my family member, we'll kill you. And it was, even during a graduation, the mayor stood up and even today says, stop the killing. So it hasn't ended. And there's a lot of fears, and it's a very controversial justice system. This is Matilda with all of the children, and they show up her. She was an incredible woman, definitely. These are what the students at Florida. This is what they learned how to make student uniforms, and they were very proud of their sewing machines.
These are all the students who graduated, and they were very excited to see Mathilde and the two young girls from America. And they performed for us incredible dances. It was great. And of course, we had to try the banana beer. That's the mayor on the left, and there's Mathilde. And I'll be honest, I didn't try it. Look how frothy and traumatizing it looks. Becky did take a sip. She says it was grainy and creamy and really terrible. So I took her, the next one I pretended and held it and just talked a lot. And you all share the same straws. You all do everybody comes up and talks and drinks for a long time. And what at least I learned from this experience, I'm hearing close briefly, what I learned from this experience was there are so many people that are actively working, especially Mathilde and going over there, and there's these college students who are trying. You have to imagine, if they're college students, they were 10 years old. And they were 10 years old when their parents would even tell them, you have to go next door and assist in the killings. There's these kids who are learning about post-traumatic syndrome. Like you would hear, but when you're talking about it, you have one person who's a victim and one person whose family were the killer. Now try to work that out and trying to create some understanding of reconciliation and healing. And the healers that are learning in social work are trying to create this atmosphere within themselves. We're merely children suffering from this atrocity.
Like I said before, it's part of our responsibility to educate one another and to help reconciliation and to heal. When I was in Rwanda, I was affected in so many different ways. With the survivors I was living with, and the simple stories they would share, and cooking dinners late at night, and going to classes with Mathilde, and being a college student once again. There's definitely a weight in Rwanda that you can feel on your shoulders physically. It's very heavy, and there were many mornings that I would wake up feeling like I had mono, or that I had some almost like fatigue syndrome, because I think emotionally it was too much to take it all in. There were so many positive experiences that came out of Rwanda, and I've learned so much. But I think most importantly, what I've learned is that it's now my responsibility. I need to take charge and not be quiet, not sit back. And I was very honored to be a part of the organization and to be able to meet these people. So thank you so much again for your time.
We always feel most honored by the fact that you are willing to make this a part of your education. We're running a little late. If you have questions, I'm sure that you can come forward and ask them. And thanks once again.